Have you ever dreamed of standing on top of a mountain, feeling the fresh air and looking down at the world below? Mountain climbing is not just a sport, it's an adventure that tests strength, courage, and endurance. In today's story, we'll follow Ethan on his incredible journey to the summit, where he faces challenges, overcomes fears, and discovers the true power of determination. But that's not all. As we listen to this exciting story, we'll also learn how stories can help improve English skills. Listening to stories is a fun and effective way to build vocabulary, understand grammar, and practice pronunciation. So get ready for an exciting climb both to the top of the mountain and to better English. Let's begin. Ethan had always dreamed of standing on top of the world. Since he was a child, he had read stories about famous explorers who conquered the highest peaks, battling fierce storms and pushing their limits. Now, as he stood at the base of Mount Everland, he knew that his greatest challenge was about to begin. With his backpack secured and his gear in place, Ethan took his first step onto the rugged trail. He was not alone. His guide, Marco, and two fellow climbers, Sarah and Liam, were with him. The climb started smoothly, with the cool morning air filling their lungs. The forest at the mountain's base was alive with the sounds of birds and rustling leaves. Sunlight filtered through the trees, creating golden pathways on the ground. As they climbed higher, the terrain became more difficult. The dense forest thinned, replaced by rocky cliffs and icy paths. The air grew thinner, making each breath harder. Ethan felt his muscles burning, but he was determined. The team encouraged each other, taking breaks to drink water and adjust their ropes. Suddenly, dark clouds covered the sky, and the wind picked up. Within minutes, a blinding snowstorm surrounded them. Ethan could barely see Marco, who was only a few feet ahead. Panic crept into his mind, but he reminded himself to stay calm. One step at a time, he told himself. "You've trained for this." Then disaster struck. Liam slipped on the ice, his body sliding toward the edge of a steep drop. Without thinking, Ethan lunged forward and grabbed his rope, holding on with all his strength. Sarah and Marco rushed to help, pulling Liam back to safety. They all stood still for a moment, catching their breath. "That was close," Liam whispered, his face pale. "Thank you, Ethan." After hours of pushing through the storm, the sky finally cleared. The team reached the final stretch, an almost vertical climb. Their hands and feet ached, but they pushed forward. And then, suddenly, there it was, the summit. Ethan pulled himself up the last rock, and as he stood at the peak, he felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. Below him stretched a sea of white clouds, and above, the golden sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. "We did it," Sarah said, smiling. "We really did it." Ethan took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the crisp mountain air. He had faced his fears, overcome the storm, and proven his strength. This was more than just a climb, it was a lesson in endurance, teamwork, and courage. The climb to the summit. Ethan had always dreamed of climbing a great mountain. He had trained for months, preparing his body and mind for the challenge. Finally, the day arrived. He and his team set out to conquer the towering peak of Mount Everland, a legendary mountain known for its breathtaking views and unpredictable weather. The journey began smoothly, with clear skies and a cool breeze. Ethan marveled at the beauty around him: tall pine trees, crystal clear streams, and birds soaring high above. But as they climbed higher, the air grew thinner, and the path became more treacherous. Suddenly, a fierce snowstorm rolled in, covering the trail in thick ice and making every step a struggle. Ethan felt his strength fading, but he remembered his training. Stay focused, keep moving, and trust his team. His guide, a seasoned climber named Marco, encouraged him. "One step at a time," Marco said. "You are stronger than you think." Encouraged by these words, Ethan pushed forward. After hours of battling the storm, the sky cleared, revealing the summit. As he took his final step to the top, he felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. The view was breathtaking: miles of untouched snow and golden sunlight reflecting off the peaks. He had done it. He had conquered the mountain and, more importantly, his own doubts. Learning English through stories. Just like Ethan's journey of endurance and discovery, learning English is an adventure. Stories help learners improve their listening, speaking, and comprehension skills in a natural and enjoyable way. When we listen to English stories, we hear correct pronunciation, learn new vocabulary in context, and understand how sentences are structured. By following characters on their journeys, we develop our ability to think in English and express ideas more clearly. Listening to stories repeatedly reinforces what we've learned, making it easier to remember words and phrases. Also, discussing stories with others improves speaking skills and confidence. How learning English is like climbing a mountain. Just as Ethan faced challenges on his climb, learning a new language is a journey full of obstacles and victories. English learners often struggle with pronunciation, grammar, and understanding native speakers, just as a climber struggles with altitude, cold, and exhaustion. But like climbing a mountain, learning English is about patience, perseverance, and practice. Listening to stories is one of the best ways to learn English. When we hear stories, we naturally absorb new words, sentence structures, and pronunciation. This method, known as contextual learning, helps learners understand how words are used in real situations rather than just memorizing them. Here's how stories help improve English skills. Listening skills. By hearing native speakers, learners get used to the rhythm and sounds of English, making it easier to understand spoken language in real life. Vocabulary building. Stories introduce new words naturally, helping learners remember them better. Grammar in context. Instead of learning grammar rules from textbooks, learners see them in action, making them easier to apply in conversation. Pronunciation and accent. Listening to stories repeatedly helps learners pick up correct pronunciation and natural intonation. Confidence in speaking. By retelling stories, learners practice speaking English in a fun and engaging way. How to learn English with stories. To make the most of learning through stories, follow these simple steps. Listen actively. Pay close attention to how words are pronounced and how sentences are formed. Repeat after the speaker. Mimic the pronunciation and rhythm of native speakers. Pause and summarize. After each section, stop and try to summarize what happened in your own words. Write about it. Keep a journal where you write a short summary of the story in English. Discuss with others. Join a group or a class where you can talk about the stories you've heard. Just as climbing a mountain takes time and dedication, mastering English is a long journey. But every step, every new word, every sentence understood is a step closer to success. So keep climbing, keep learning, and enjoy the adventure. If you want to develop your English skills, start by listening to simple stories, pausing to repeat sentences, and practicing speaking aloud. Just like climbing a mountain, learning a language takes patience and effort, but with each step, you get closer to mastering it. Keep listening, keep practicing, and enjoy the journey.